not surface-level experiences. I am talking about real experiences that left a mark, taught you something, or shifted your mindset. Story 1. Seeing the stars on a clear night. No, not out in the country, not even in Colorado, but a true dark sky like Big Bend, Texas, or somewhere in the Great Basin. Story 2. Sharing a strong bond with a pet. You can have many pets throughout life, but if you are fortunate to have one with whom you share that bond, it will be one you never forget and always miss. I have had many pets and have cherished and cared for them all, but there has only ever been one cat that understood me as much as I understood her. Best cat ever. Story 3. Losing, failing, or getting your heart broken just once builds a kind of empathy that nothing else truly teaches. Story 4. Probably not the answer you were looking for, because I do not want anyone to have to experience these things, but they taught me the most about myself in life. A serious injury, loved ones dying, and divorce or breaking up with someone you truly loved. You gain a lot of wisdom pulling yourself back up from grief, but unfortunately, it is not an easy road. Although you gain a lot of wisdom, you also lose a bit of your spark or brightness that life may have had before. On a more positive note, I would say a long international travel or backpacking trip, like 2 to 4 months just cruising around different countries without a job or a care in the world. Story 5. Don't be afraid to show emotions. You are not weak if you talk with your friends, family, or your partner. You are not weak if you cry or share a moment of vulnerability. Don't be afraid to accept a cuddle from your partner or to lie on their lap. Many men make the mistake of thinking they are only strong if they do not cry or share their emotions, but it is quite the opposite. You are strong and confident as a man if you have no issues just being yourself. Story 6. Working on something from scratch gives a proud feeling and a sense of accomplishment that is amazing. Starting a family is also, in my opinion, a wonderful experience. Story 7. Work a hard shift job with older colleagues who do not care about your feelings. It will toughen your skin, and you will learn to appreciate hard work. Story 8. Building something from wood. Designing, drawing, cutting, sanding, and routing. Not only is it not that hard and immensely satisfying, it is meditative and relaxing. I built a bass guitar body with no real experience using just electric hand tools. Story 9. Shooting a gun. Riding a horse. Repairing something that is broken. Being alone in the deep, natural, dark night. Being completely emotionally open without fear. Failure. A psychedelic experience. Story 10. Lysergic acid diethylamide. I know it sounds crazy, but it changed everything about the way I look at the world. Living in another country, like a completely different culture, opens your mind to the fact that the world does not revolve around you and that your way is not always the right way. Taking care of a sick person to whom you have no commitment is an exercise in compassion. It teaches you patience and service and makes you realize that a little selflessness goes a long way. The last one is to challenge yourself to see other people's point of view. Even if you strongly disagree with them, play devil's advocate against yourself. People seem to be completely incapable of doing this, but when you do, it allows you to fully understand both sides of the topic and opens your mind to avoid being narrow-minded. Story 11. Being there when your first child is born. Nothing will change a man more than that immediate, primal, evolutionary urge to protect and love that child. Your entire life changes in that moment when you first see your child. You realize that you now live for them, want to give them everything you never had, and you will slowly take action against anyone that dares to hurt them. Story 12. Go to a gay bar. I'm straight, but 2 of my good childhood friends came out right before we graduated high school. They visited me in college, and after we went to a couple of bars, they asked if we could go to a gay bar. I figured why not, since I just brought them to a few straight bars and it seemed fair to go where they wanted. Every man needs to experience an environment where they feel like they are being sexually targeted and hunted. Now I understand why women are so nervous and hesitant around men at bars or social events. I had several men stare at me in ways that made me really paranoid, and some tried to slowly make their way over to where I was standing. I even had a guy try to grab my butt. I remember a moment when this one man who was really muscular was giving me a very strange look. I thought to myself for a moment and realized that if this man really wanted to, he could follow me out of the bar and harass me. If he tried to fight me for rejecting him, then I honestly don't know if I could have stopped him from overpowering me. Every man needs to have this experience at least once to truly understand women and their concerns about being around men in social environments. Story 13. Being empathetic and kind changes the way people view others in this materialistic world and creates a better place to live for everyone. Story 14. Finding something that is uniquely challenging for you is important. I like woodworking, and while I have failed several projects, I continue to push myself to try again or to make something better. That said, try not to be overly critical of your accomplishments. Many men have a habit of downplaying what they have been able to achieve. You do not always have to nitpick your work. Story 15. You need to experience bad partners to recognize a great one when you see one. Many people won't admit it, but many men have severe emotional issues. When we get torn to pieces and fall in love with someone without knowing their true nature, and then get hurt, we sometimes behave poorly. But then you find one who doesn't give in on the first date. You actually court her, and she allows you to court her, and then it develops into a lasting relationship and even marriage. I believe every man should experience heartbreak. It will help you improve yourself. If you choose the opposite path and slip into a deep state of depression, then I suggest seeking therapy. Story 16. A real physical fight, whether in a boxing ring or not. Being able to hold their newborn. Having a dog from being a puppy. Story 17. If you experience a traumatic event or have had a negative experience, let your feelings come out. Many men just hold it in and bottle it up before it becomes a larger issue. Being emotionally intelligent is something many men and women struggle to truly comprehend. Story 18. The feeling of losing. If you have never lost a fight or been belittled for not achieving something even though you tried very hard, it takes modesty to understand the weight of losing. That is something missing in society. Everyone is a winner now, which makes getting an award or medal not as meaningful as when you have actually achieved something greater than yourself. Story 19. Experiencing intimacy with someone who cares for you while under the influence of good MDMA. Story 20. Catching a large fish, being out in nature, especially with good friends, and experiencing the excitement of bringing in the catch. Story 21. The ocean in turbulent seas. Movies try to overdramatize it, but it does not compare. So much mass in movement. It is like seeing mountains born and collapse in seconds. Story 22. Complete and total loss of any inhibitions. Some might read this and think only of sexual matters, but I mean other things as well. Doing whatever your mind wants without anything stopping you is so freeing. Dance like nobody is watching is a great example. Story 23. Squash like cagey butter dinosaurs roll simplistic dependent plate employ. Story 24. To be fully independent with no reliance on anyone other than themselves for all aspects of their life. Once you have been there and survived or thrived, you will walk away with a self-confidence you have never had before, which should carry you through the rest of your life. Story 25. Earning an amount of money that usually takes months or years to earn in a relatively short period, such as earning $75,000 in a month. Story 26. Be present when someone takes their first breath and when someone takes their last breath, hopefully not the same person. Set a goal to accomplish something that is far outside your comfort zone and currently unreachable, but achievable without relying on luck. Avoid goals like winning the lottery or becoming a movie or rock star. Work to reach it and either succeed or fail while trying. Create something with your own hands from scratch. Stay up all night around a campfire with friends in the wilderness. Watch the stars, the sunset, and the sunrise. Story 27. Bungee jump. At the time, I had just had my heart broken when the girl I was dating admitted she cheated. I remember I wanted to do it before, but the breakup gave me the motivation to do it. After doing it, I realized that it was really not the end of the world, and it also gave me the motivation to cut out the losers I called friends from high school, who I just stuck with because I did not want to be a loner. I ended up making a whole new group of friends and picked up a new hobby because of it. Story 28. 1. Braking 100 miles per hour on a motorcycle, hearing the engine scream, feeling completely weightless, free, and present. 2. The initial moment of complete quiet right when you exit the plane while skydiving. 3. Complete solitude, weather camping, hiking, fishing, or driving alone at 3 a.m. Many men are not comfortable being alone with their own thoughts and sober. For having a best friend, not a significant other, but a true brother who you would move mountains for, and who you know would do the same for you. Story 29. This might seem surface level, but prostate orgasms. I said it before and I'll say it again, there's a before and after, like your first French kiss or your first four-figure paycheck. My wife could have cut me into pieces and grilled me. I didn't care. It was so explosively intense that I was utterly exhausted afterward. To think the majority of men look down on it, or any man who has experienced it, it's because they don't know how mind-blowing it is. Story 30. Okay, I'll list a few things and try to explain the feelings you get. Building something big, for example a shed or an IKEA kitchen, is even better if your own planning was involved and it was your project from beginning to end. You feel like you accomplished something big, like finishing school, except you have a daily reminder that you did that. Fixing something expensive, such as a car or something around the house, gives you proof that you are skilled and clever. Buying property is a special moment. The best part is when you inspect everything before getting the keys and realize you own something that was previously unimaginable. It's like moving out of your parents' place, but 100 times greater. Investing in something and harvesting the fruits feels almost like watching a child grow up. I can't say exactly since I don't have children yet. Going on a trip far away from home and experiencing another culture creates a feeling similar to exploring your favorite video game for the first time when everything was new. I went to Japan, and it felt like I was discovering the map and stores of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for the first time. True love is, of course, the strongest feeling. The best way I can describe it is that it feels like you have your own angel. Story 31. Getting into a fight with another man teaches you to respect aggression and violence and how to avoid it. People who shout at others, especially on the internet, have never experienced the consequences of being punched in the face. There needs to be more awareness of this in the world. Story 32. I said that a man should experience being in a fight with another man so that he can learn to avoid violence and aggression. Someone reported me as threatening violence. Well done. Story 33. Be actual friends with a gay man if you are straight. It will either reduce that homophobia or reveal who you really are. Story 34. I would say the best experience is to truly feel the need for someone else as an adult. Whether it is a good friend, a family member, or someone you are in a relationship with, the feeling that you do not want to live life without them is powerful. Story 35. Probably strange to say, but being betrayed by someone you loved is very difficult, but it teaches you some valuable life lessons. Story 36. Be part of a team of men who must overcome difficult obstacles through teamwork, such as in sports, the military, or hard labor. I am a veteran and played sports in school. I feel like I will never again have the opportunity to experience that incredible bond formed through shared experiences of doing something challenging with others day in and day out. Story 37. Take martial arts with a good teacher. When I showed up at my martial arts school, I was egotistical and had several preconceived notions. My teacher taught me many things, humility being one of them, and changed my perspective on various aspects of life. I became a better human being after meeting him. You go in thinking you are just learning how to fight, but it becomes so much more. Expanding one's horizons often starts with that first step into the unknown. Story 38. When I was in my 40s and living alone, I found out that I was going to have open heart surgery. I went to the hospital and had it performed, and naturally, I woke up in recovery. The pain I experienced was by far the worst pain I had ever felt, and I just wanted it to stop. I asked everyone from nurse to floor cleaner if they could help me, but I got no relief other than my morphine pump every 2 hours, which only barely took the edge off. I asked my nurse if I could get something else besides the morphine for my pain, and she told me that I would have to tough it out. The next shift, I asked another nurse if she could help, and she said, "Have you ever had a baby?" Well, I have, and I have had open heart surgery, and the pain of each is about equal, except with childbirth it's just a little further south. I finally concluded that nothing was going to be done and that I was going to have to tough it out. So I gritted my teeth and started blowing into that machine as hard as I could. I started by getting up to go to the bathroom, and within 6 hours, I was walking the hallway every 2 hours to build strength and help with breathing. In fact, I did so well that the surgeon's physician assistant came by and released me to go home 2.5 days after surgery. I came home and still hurt to live. Moving in any way caused intense pain, but I made myself do my walking and the basic tasks needed around the house. I learned that pain can be intense and that medical staff cannot always do something about it. I could have been upset and moaned about how terrible life was, but there was no one there to hear it. I did get better and went back to work. I decided that work was not the worst thing that could happen to you. I also learned that I can tolerate pain a great deal and how valuable my health is. I got married a few years afterward, and my wife is surprised every time I am sick and don't continuously complain about it. I had an appendix rupture right after we married and spent 5 days in the hospital for that. She was surprised at how well I handled it. Of course, I'm not going to say that I like pain, but I did learn how to deal with it. I try not to stereotype people, but I have seen some men who need to be in real pain for a while before they will stop complaining about smaller episodes. Story 39. A pilgrimage of some sort. Whether it is hiking the Appalachian Trail, Continental Divide Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, canoeing the entire length of the Allagash, backpacking across a foreign continent, or other adventures, get wild, get strange, continue your journey, and embrace discomfort. Story 40. Going on a drive in a fast car, running from the police and getting away with it, experiencing nature and feeling the same awe you get when you look into the night sky and feel small, having an incredible bar tab after a night out, wearing a fitted suit, working a service job, having your father say he is proud of you. I could go on and on. Story 41. Leaving the country and being open to the culture. Not in a hippie way, just a normal human interaction. Story 42. Spend your birthday alone or go out and drink on your own. Enjoy the freedom of being alone and feeling capable. Story 43. Losing a job while maintaining the same financial responsibilities can be stressful, but sometimes stress helps keep us on track. Story 44. The moment when you have finally unlocked your first level of proficiency at an instrument, whether that is a short melody line you have cracked on the piano or a sequence of chords on a guitar you can now cleanly strum through, changes you. Suddenly, you are excited by the idea of what you will be able to do in a year's time. Other than that, Cloverfield on a big screen with impressive levels of audio quality. Story 45. Harvesting an animal. Before any vegetarian's contest, you do the same thing, but without a heartbeat and blinking eyes because it is safe and unemotional in most cases. Life is sustained by life. We simply need reverence and to honor the life we take to sustain our own, regardless of its form. Story 46. Being out on the lake or ocean during bad weather is very humbling. Going out on a frozen lake at night in a blizzard is dangerous. Even with global positioning system, you can get lost. It really knocks out any cockiness you may have. Taking a day completely by yourself to go into the woods far enough away so you will not see another person and cannot hear any traffic is so peaceful. It is especially good to do during a snowstorm. Story 47. Every man should have the absolute worst beaten out of him once. And every man should beat the worst out of someone else, taking it way further than they mean to once. A man should know what it is to be powerless, and what it is to hurt someone you didn't mean to because you didn't control the power you have. Story 48. Combat sports or some form of self-defense are valuable skills. Being able to punch and defend against punches is important. Story 49. Being around people who are not like you, different ethnicities, socioeconomic backgrounds, women, cultures, mindsets, and beliefs, makes you more open-minded, understanding, empathetic, and humanizes those who are different from you. Story 51. Get in shape once in your life. You do not have to be a professional athlete, but just walking around in a body knowing you are strong, fast, and agile is an indescribable, magnificent feeling. Grow or catch your own food once in your life. It does not have to be long-term. Just have a garden. Go fishing. Go hunting. Go foraging. Make a meal where you know how it was made and who it was made for. Story 51. Having someone do their makeup. Just try it once, then take it or leave it. You would be surprised how much your face can change with a little bit of product. Story 52. Men should go into an actual wilderness where there is no help, no mobile phones, and no possibility of rescue. Spend a few days away from civilization where the only help is yourself. It taught me that under these layers of culture is an animal with the ability to survive. It heightens your awareness and focus. Story 53. May be a bit strange to say, but losing a fight and winning one. Doing boxing and mixed martial arts, I have learned that a man should know how to lose a fist fight, how to take the loss with grace, and be humble in defeat. On the flip side, he should know how to win without letting pride or ego dictate behavior afterwards. How to treat an opponent with respect when they are experiencing defeat. These skills translate to life very well. How to handle rejection or failure and move on. How to take success without letting it go to your head. Bonus points for developing the courage to handle yourself in confrontations. Story 54. True heartbreak crumbles you absolutely, but gives you the amount of lessons you otherwise never would learn so well. Story 55. Threesome. Serious answer. If there is no other reason to see that, while fun, they are overly hyped. They are not that special. You can stop hoping every girl you meet will be interested, and stop feeling disappointed if they are not. Story 56. Having a child drastically changed my mindset more than anything else. Also, quitting a bad habit requires willpower, so you realize you can do anything you put your mind to. Story 57. Humiliating failure. It is difficult at the time, but it compels you to be better, more careful, and more focused so that it never happens again. It may occur because you can do everything right and still fail, but as long as the failure is outside of your control, you will not beat yourself up as much. The bad experiences of life are just as valuable as the good experiences. Story 58. Hike into the wilderness for a few days, commune with nature, reset your internal clock, and you will learn something about yourself on that journey. Story 59. Knowing that you being proud of someone brings that person joy, for example, being proud of a son, daughter, or spouse. It is a great feeling knowing that your happiness brings them happiness. Story 60. Hardships in life really wake you up to reality and make you appreciate the privileges we take for granted when life is easy. Story 61. Having to deal with a significant personal loss, such as losing a close family member or a childhood pet, profoundly changes a person. Story 62. The untamed consequences of actions they take, but not just once, regularly. The expression of motherly love from a woman who is not their mother certainly broadens one's horizons when someone comes along and shows that they care and love without inappropriate intentions. Story 63. A really deep, intense psychedelic experience where you are left alone in a dark, quiet space. Everything emerges. Story 64. Standing trackside at 1/8 mile while a top fuel dragster or funny car makes a run. They are reaching about 300 miles per hour, which is an acceleration of 2 miles per hour for every foot of track. Story 65. A blowjob that makes you curl your toes and beg her to stop because it feels too good. Still waiting on mine. Story 66. Your body operating at its absolute peak. When I was in my late teens, I played soccer at a high level. I trained 5 days a week in the gym, trained soccer 3 nights a week, and played a match on Saturday. I was in peak physical condition. My stamina and ability were the best they could possibly be. I am in my late 30s now, much slower and generally in less good shape, but I know what my limit was. It was such a great experience. Story 67. Prostate orgasms are difficult to comprehend due to the intense pleasure derived from a small amount of stimulation. Story 68. Becoming an expert in a sport or activity where there is a high risk of life-threatening injuries and sudden death. Story 69. Okay, I am sure that someone will get offended by this, but read it all the way through before you do. I think that every man needs to have a Captain Save-A-Ho relationship at least once in order to learn from it. Basically, getting into a serious relationship with a woman who you treated like a lady, respected, and did all the things you were ever taught to do in a healthy relationship with a good woman in order to be a good man, only to painfully discover later that she was not in fact a lady at all. She was untrustworthy, toxic, disloyal, chaotic, mentally unstable, abusive, I think most men have some version of this story that was an eye-opening learning experience about the need to discern good women from untrustworthy ones. You can and should love and trust a good woman, but you should never trust someone who is not trustworthy. You can have fun, but you need to always remember who they really are and never let your guard down. Don't ever assume that a woman is a good woman. Let her show you who she really is through her actions. For example, if you met a random dog on the street, no, I am not comparing women to dogs. You have to keep in mind that you don't know if it is a good dog or a dangerous wild animal that will attack you. You can hope for the best, but you need to plan for the worst. So, keep in mind that there is a potential threat, and let trust be earned as someone proves who they really are. This applies to interactions with any human. Story 70. Getting right hooked hard enough to lose some snot out of your nose. I feel like everyone would be a lot more level-headed and less prone to verbal abuse or losing their cool. I remember the first middle school scuffle I got into where I actually received a solid punch to my face. The whole thing seemed a lot less worth it afterward, and it made me choose my battles more effectively. Story 71. Being absolutely petrified with fear. A situation that can kill you or cause serious damage unless you take action. You would be amazed at what you are truly capable of and how it will affect you for the rest of your life. Story 72. Holding a newborn child for the first time and experiencing all those emotions at once. Hope, fear, awe, and responsibility. I grew up by 10 years in those precious few initial moments with my first son. Story 73. Being pegged by someone you love is serious. The level of trust and vulnerability required is on another level, and it sure feels good. Story 74. Death of a loved one is significant and can affect anyone or anything. Parent, spouse, or pet. If you don't know how to grieve properly, the first loss will hit hard, but with subsequent losses, you may learn healthy coping mechanisms to keep going. Intimate relationships with someone who loves you as intensely as you love them are important. Since this is Ask Men, I will also mention a threesome with 2 women. If you're not into it, that's fine. If you don't try, you won't know. It was a great one-time experience for my wife and me. Ultimately, that lifestyle isn't for us, but it felt wonderful to be wanted by 2 women at the same time. It didn't even require $1 million. Having children is not the most popular choice, and that's okay. I wouldn't be the man I am without my kids. Hearing them call me dad or sometimes bro is the sweetest sound. When they tell me they love me, I practically burst with joy. They are great teachers. Parenting is hard most of the time, but the rewards are well worth it. You begin to appreciate the small things and realize you are not the center of your universe anymore. They are. What you put in is what you get out. It is truly rewarding if that is the path you choose. As I said, some of these definitely aren't for everyone. These are just my perspectives that have had profound effects on my life. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.